my name is Christina McCorkle, and Mitch and I went to high school together, so that's
You're on the same bus.
We were. Yeah. So that's kind of where this whole thing came about. And I kind of always grew up with animals. We always had horses, so we had a large hobby farm. My parents had group homes for children with behavioral issues.
Oh.
So that's kind of where the farm, I got to have my passion and my hobby, but they were also able to use that spot for the group home to come just for therapeutic purposes. And we had a coach who taught them lessons. They did a lot of hard labor there, and they were able to get paid. So it was like a summer job for them. So it was really good.
Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't actually know any of that.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Really neat.
Yeah. So that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then we kind of, once my parents got out of the group homes, my dad became a real estate agent. My mom went back to her bookkeeping background, and the farm just kind of was a hobby farm for us. So we had a coach that taught lessons for a few years, and then finally I decided I kind of wanted to also get out of the real estate field. I was in office administration. I worked for Keller Williams in Ottawa. So way different than what I'm doing now, but it gave me the perspective to know that I don't want to do that for the rest of my life. Yep. But it was good experience. So then I kind of jumped into the farm role, and I taught lessons for, I want to say, going on 7 years. So from ages 6 to, I think my oldest one was almost 70.
Okay.
So wow. I was giving lessons every night, every weekend. So that was a lot of my life for those 7 years. And it was a lot of fun. I felt like I watched a lot of kids grow up. So that was also really fulfilling. And then COVID hit, the big C word. And we stopped the lessons, but we still had the boarding and all that. So I had my 5 main horses, and my commitment to them is that once I bought them, I have them for life type thing.
Yeah, that's a big commitment.
It is a big commitment, and it's a lot of money. So I got more into boarding, but I also started to kind of follow my passion. So I just moved into a new house with my partner, and I started refinishing furniture, just kind of for fun. And then it kind of took off from there. A lot of people were commenting. A lot of my friends were saying that they loved it. So that's where I kind of swerved into that. I started selling my furniture, and then I kind of created almost like a brand, a lifestyle brand, touching on furniture. I also help with like kind of interior designing. I have helped a lot of friends with their kitchens. Cool. I've refinished, I think I want to say 3 kitchens, like huge kitchens so far. I'm working on another one actually this month.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's
Sweet.
kind of the refinishing furniture. And then my horse business really took off with boarding. So I'm very busy with that. So, and I feel like when everything hits, it's all at once. Like it's when it rains, it pours, but in a good way. And then I also do web design. So,
oh, wow. I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Jeez
so
Louise.
In my off time, because I do have some time during my day, because usually the chores are in the morning and the evening. So I had a lot of time. So that's when I started creating logos. So I've created over, I want to say 75 logos for over 75 businesses.
Oh.
I want to say I'm on to my 8th website.
Okay.
So, and then I also help with the social media aspect of that. So I help a lot of the businesses get their name out there.
Yep.
And I kind of help them and guide them into how to properly run a small business. Because a lot of people are coming into this and they're just don't know where to start. Maybe they don't have the experience or the people from their background who have taught them this, like my parents have.
Yep.
So that's been super fun, and I've made a lot of great connections there. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of my business.
The overall business sense.
How I got into all of that.
So you actually mentioned something there that I want to jump back into anyways, which is sort of the influence that got you into a lot of this. And so sounds like in your family you have some entrepreneurs. I think you mentioned to me offhandedly before too that you have brothers that are in the entrepreneurial world.
Yes, I do.
So how many siblings do you have?
So I have one sister and 3 brothers.
Okay.
I have a brother, an older brother. He is an accountant. Ironically, he's not doing that right now.
Yep.
He just kind of did
Classic.
it for fun, I guess. Yeah. So that's where he has the numbers background. He's a lot like my mom.
Yep.
And then I have a younger brother. He is incredibly smart. He's a genius.
Cool.
He just finished his master's, and right now he's kind of arguing his thesis. And he's doing a lot of cool things up in Guelph.
What's his master's in? Like, what's he taking?
So he wants to be a vet.
Oh, okay, cool.
So in the large animal field. So he's doing a lot of the scientific stuff, like behind the scenes, electrolytes, things like that. A lot of people, I'm like reading it it's not in layman's terms. Let me just put it that way. So it's a lot, but he's doing really well. Yep. And I'm just waiting so that he can start taking over my vet bills.
Wow.
Right now it's money.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And then so your parents too, you've mentioned, are sort of entrepreneurial in spirit. So how did that come about and what kind of things have they operated?
So we had foster children originally in our homes, and then they wanted to kind of get them out of the house. So they started the group homes. So they had them for, I want to say, over 15 years. And then my dad got into real estate, and my mom, she was a paralegal in Ottawa for another real estate company. So we have a lot of real estate background. And then she kind of did some bookkeeping for some people around here. And then she just got some clients on her own, and that's what she does. So she's also pretty busy.
Cool.
So, And then we had a salon. I don't know if you remember in high school.
Nope.
No, we had a salon and spa. So my mom and I kind of opened that together. My mom was awesome, and she let me have a big role in the operation of that. Yeah. So we did that for a while. Figured out it was not for us.
Yep.
Just personalities, hairdressers, things like that.
As in, like you guys working together as a dynamic, or you mean like clientele?
The employees.
Oh,
it was a lot more than we expected.
Yeah. Interesting.
So we kind of were like, okay, we would like some more peace in our life. Yeah. So that we kind of backed out of that a bit. But we did that for, I want to say 4 years.
Oh, wow.
So it was a while, and it was like a pretty established salon and spa in Brockville.
Cool.
Obviously, you don't know
what was the name of that one then?
It was called Bliss Holistic Spa and Salon.
Okay. I mean, I never really had a reason.
Yeah, no, I would never really be like, hey, yeah. You know, so
interesting.
So okay. I did kind of I did all the desk stuff and all that, and I kind of organized the employers or their employees and kind of kept them in their roles and all that. So
outside of that, did you ever have did you work kind of a first job that wasn't something in the family, or has it always been kind of? Okay, what was it? So
I worked at a gas station.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I did that for, I want to say 4 years.
Oh, okay.
It was in Prescott. It was McEwen's.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun. I made a lot of friends. But it was a very time-consuming job. We were like working 3 to 11, coming in at like 5:30 in the morning. We were going to like 3. So it was a lot. And then I also had school on top of that. But
was this during university then?
No, this was in high school.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah. So the salon was just at the end, kind of.
Okay. But, so when did you sort of realize? Well, first of all, would you say like, do you consider yourself an entrepreneur or like entrepreneurial tendencies, or like what kind of?
Oh, definitely.
An entrepreneur.
I do not want to work for someone.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So when did you first realize that? Like, when was kind of the tipping point for you to be like, yeah, I got to do this on my own?
I want to say in the real estate, I just felt like it was just like so fast paced, and it was not really like, it wasn't for me. Let's just say that. And I just kind of wanted to have a little more time in my life again. Wanted to spend more time with my horses. So I've always kind of been thinking of ways and scheming up ways that I can, bring in money and pay for my lifestyle.
We should have started a business in high school together if I had known all this.
I know. So I'm like really into that. And I think my parents played a large role in that. Just they always shooting me ideas and figuring out solutions and things like that.
Would you say, are you a pretty self-aware person overall?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. So within that, what kind of strengths and weaknesses do you see in yourself, like when you're operating a business that, well, you're on the strength side, what's helping you grow, but then on the weaknesses side, like
what's maybe hindering me?
Either hindering, but also where would you look at, like, you know, if you get to a certain point, where could I hire people to help with that growth? So
when I had my riding school, let's say, I did have a lot of employees work for me over time. When COVID hit, and I moved onto the actual farm, I was like, I don't need to hire someone. I'm here. Like, what's the point? And I'm the kind of person like, how can I save my money? Right. Like what? So I did that for 4 years. We lived there for 4 years, did it all by myself. Very taxing. I have a lot of autoimmune conditions. So it's hard on the body. It's very physical. But we lived there for 4 years, and I don't know, like it was a lot easier just to do it myself. So then now I just actually hired someone who's starting next month. So that's super.
What kind of role? Like, what are they taking on?
Just so I can have a day off at the farm. So they're going to be
farmhand kind of thing.
Exactly. Mucking stalls, taking the horses out, feeding them, things like that. But one day off will be nice.
Yes, no kidding.
Yeah.
So some of those strengths that you have, I mean, it sounds like you're pretty much a workhorse, no pun intended, but you work a lot. You can get down in the mud and do it yourself, because some entrepreneurs, you have to start off in that way for almost everybody, but it doesn't always continue for some people, but that's something you want to keep doing.
Yes, for sure. I'm a go-getter, and I want to keep at it, even when I'm feeling crummy. But I find one of my weaknesses is with the farm, it's easy to keep a schedule. But when you get into like website stuff, designing, things like that, you can kind of procrastinate a little bit. So that, I'm sure you understand that.
Creative field and editing.
You're just
and all
like,
that
I just don't feel like doing this right now. So that's definitely a weakness. One of my other weaknesses is I wish I could clone myself. I'm sure you could agree with that.
Oh yeah.
Like, I have so many wonderful things that I could be doing. I could be going at full capacity and it'd be amazing, but it's hard when you're one person, and sometimes you have to kind of step back and kind of reevaluate where you can kind of delegate and how you can streamline your business.
You've heard of Mr. Beast, like the YouTuber?
Love it.
Have you heard his thing about cloning people?
Yes, he has, and he has gluten-free cookies out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm a celiac, so that's how,
nice.
Fun fact, my partner found it at Walmart, and I was like, oh my gosh.
No way, I didn't realize that, actually.
Yeah, it's everything, apparently.
His new chocolate bar line and all that. But he was talking about, like, he had he hired a guy for a year to follow him to all meetings, all filmings, all everything, so that he can make the business decision. So like, this guy knows how Mr. Beast would answer, react, etc.
Yeah, I did read about that. I thought that was
awesome.
Pretty,
that would be, if I had a lot of money, I would do that in a heartbeat, as I'm sure most entrepreneurs would love to do as well.
I think that's the issue with being an entrepreneur. And I think that's why it really weeds out the people who need a kind of structure, because it's hard.
Yep. Oh yeah.
It's hard.
Not easy.
No, and it's hard to, like, sometimes you may not have experience in certain things and you may be lagging a lot, and then all of a sudden you meet someone and you're like, oh my gosh, my business could be so much better. So I think, you really have to have the want to do it,
How do you deal with that, actually? Like, with the I got to a point, I think probably a couple years into this business, where it was like, I definitely was comparing with a lot of other film people, videographers, business owners, all this stuff.
Comparison is the root of all evil. I really think that. And I think that's kind of where, I want to say, 4 years ago, I did a lot of intense therapy. I was, as a child, sexually assaulted. So I did a lot of soul searching and really intense therapy, I want to say 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And that kind of gave me the motivation, and it gave me the perspective that I don't need to compare myself to anyone. Like, there's no reason. It doesn't benefit me. If anything, it's more negative. So that's where I kind of stopped giving a F. If you,
we'll bleep it out if you say it. Go for it.
But that's where I kind of, you really can't. And I still do catch myself comparing. Obviously, you're flipping through and you're like, oh my gosh, look how amazing they're doing. But behind the scenes, you don't know what's going on in their life. So, it's just, it's a facade. People put their best stuff forward always. So you always have to remember that. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I find that's where sometimes I'm just like, okay, I'd have to take a second, remember that. And then, there's no other person but yourself that you should worry about. And being authentically you, I think, is super important. And I feel like that's where you make the real connections with people in, the 100%. Fulfilling things. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So shifting gears a little bit then. Sure. So you mentioned a little bit with like your health side of things too. So how does that play? You've already talked a little bit about like how it plays a role in what you're currently doing, but are you taking certain like actionable steps to, like make it easier for work? And you're talking about, you're hiring somebody or something like that, but like, if you're comfortable talking about it, what kind of health problems are they? And then like, how does that affect your business? And what are you doing to kind of make it a strength as opposed to a weakness?
Actually, it's funny you touch on this, because I kind of feel like that also pushed me to be the entrepreneur that I am, because it was super hard when you are sick with something, or you have stuff like that and you're dealing with, there's doctor's appointments, you have to travel. It takes up the whole day. So sometimes over and over and over to an employer, they don't want that really. So, and I didn't really want the stress of always having to, I need time off, but it wasn't even like enjoyable time off, So I had celiac disease. I don't know if you remember, in high school I was super slim.
Yeah.
So that kind of was the reasoning. I got really sick. I was on death's door. I had to have a bunch of tests, and then they did a biopsy of my small intestine, and there's a mutation or something like that, and determines that if you have celiac disease. So I did, and once I cut gluten out of my diet, it was amazing. Like, my life changed completely. I gained a lot of my weight back, but I also have I have a brain lesion, so I have a brain lesion. So I was monitored for, I want to say yearly, for an MRI, just to see if something changes, because it would be kind of in line with MS. So luckily it's not that right now.
Amazing.
So it's so
that was kind of the last thing I had heard. So like, I didn't know for sure.
Yeah. So right now it's dormant. There's nothing going on. So that's really good.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. But I still have neuropathy and things like that, but they're manageable with, how your lifestyle and things like that. Modifications on things I do.
Yep.
But that's kind of some of that issue. I also have endometriosis.
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, so it's a woman thing. Basically, your endometrial tissue is growing all around your intestines, but your insides, and then you're essentially bleeding from the inside. So, and that also can make it harder for you to conceive, and fertility issues, things like that. So I'm a big kind of advocate for that. Because it is pretty debilitating pain. So that is definitely an issue right now.
Wow, I didn't realize that either.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it is a lot of energy. Let's just say, when you have pain like that. But with my own business, it's very easy for me to kind of manage that and work around that. So
flexibility part.
I love it. Yeah.
So that's what I talk about that a lot with, like, and I'll ask you the question, but a big part of what I define as like success in the businesses that I'm currently running and hope to run in the future is flexibility, because money and all that, it'll come, it'll go, whatever. Exactly. But being able to be flexible for things like health and family, or like whatever it is, that to me is by far the most important thing.
That's what life is about. It's so short.
Having that balance. So within your businesses that you have, what do you define as success, with one of those sounding like it's one of the metrics you consider as well?
I would have to agree with you a lot on how you define your definition of success. I just kind of like it when things kind of feel more easy with with payments, things like that. There's a lot of bills when you own your own business. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and then you still have your home life. You still have bills at home to pay for. So that's definitely a huge thing. So if you're able to easily pay that stuff and not really have like that, oh my gosh, I need to pay. That's when I'm like, okay, now I can start to like kind of relax a little bit, enjoy life, you know? Mm-hmm. So I would agree with you with your definition of success.
But what other areas in your life do you see success currently? Because the whole kind of theme of this podcast is to figure out different areas of success in people's life, how they define success. And then I'm not trying to change people's mind, but redefine for some people listening and whatnot, like what a successful life can look like, because a lot of it still is so focused around money.
So it is. And I would agree with that. But for me, anyone who knows me personally, I love children.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. I love children. I love animals. So for me, that is success, that I'm able to share my life and be happy with kids, my horses, my dogs. But then I have my dreams too. I want to have a nice family. And that's kind of my big thing. I want to be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
That has the flexibility, and I'm able to run my own business, but I'm also able to have time for my child. And, I feel like that's my goal for the ideal successful life.
Sure.
Is a family that I'm able to provide for, but I'm able to have the flexibility along with it.
Yeah.
So we're getting there.
Do you see, I've talked to some other entrepreneurial females who, that's like, that's a big part of what they want is the family part. But obviously, like, there's a lot of hard work and selfishness almost that has to go into the business owner part of it. So like,
it's intimidating.
And because there's so many like social kind of pressures as well of being like, well, if you're going to be a mom, like you can't be doing this too. Definitely. Right. So how have you thought about that?
I don't care.
Plain
and simple. I probably would have a long time ago, but now I'm just like, you know what? As long as I, in my heart of hearts, feel like it's making me happy, that's what is important to me. Mm-hmm. I don't really care what the background noise says. I'll have those moments of where I falter and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm comparing myself. But then you have to remember, who you are.
Do you think in like that kind of role, because some of the certain people I've talked to, they've ended up like dropping their businesses almost completely.
It gets too hard.
Yeah. Or they've like reined it back in significantly. So like, do you think your businesses are scalable like enough to kind of go either direction?
Yes, definitely. Okay. Yeah. I definitely want to grow more. Mm-hmm. And I do agree with you. Sometimes, it's unfortunate. People will have these huge dreams and they'll start a business and then, it's okay. They start a family and they decide, then that's totally okay that they want to focus more on that. And then we're close and, and they start to, step away from that. And that's fine. But for me, I kind of want to be able to get larger and have that delegation. So eventually I'll be able to hire people. And then, I'll have my time for my family too.
Yeah.
So I think that's.
What size kind of like, let's take the boarding like of horses, like how big do you want that business to get to be?
So I'm at my absolute maximum for that.
But in the sense of, do you think about it as like, well, I could grow it to a bigger capacity so I can hire more people and then I'm not having to be in the day-to-day operations? Because like for this business, that's sort of a goal for me, is this will always be like a marketing business for my other companies.
Yes. That's kind of the same with me. Yeah.
Okay.
We're very similar.
That's kind of what you're looking at doing. So if you do have like kids and stuff in the future, you're able to break,
but I'm still able to be involved in it. I feel like we're very similar.
Yeah, sounds like it. Very much so.
So we use our one business to kind of, and that's really helpful. I find you make a lot of different connections, in different avenues that you're in. So it's important.
What have you found for your businesses as being like key marketing, not necessarily indicators, but I guess strategies that have helped you grow? Because like for us, word of mouth still is a massive component.
Huge word of mouth.
Yeah.
Word of mouth and having the positive connections with people and keeping that repertoire in your business. Not like you have to be very consistent with them, I guess is the word.
Yep.
Otherwise, if you're flaky here, people are going to start to talk, even if they're correct in what they're saying or if they're wrong. Yeah. It does a number on the business. And social media, as you know, is a huge, huge thing that people use for marketing, but they also use it to kind of, slander, let's say, a business, and it really can hurt them. because the reach can be really large. So I find social media, Facebook. I really love Instagram. I've made a lot of friends on Instagram, like furniture friends in Ottawa and all over the US. So I have a lot of really good friends in America. So
cool.
Yeah.
That's neat.
So they're going to be like lifelong kind of connections too. And it's fun to have other people you can bounce things off of that have a similar business, but they're not your I'm blanking for the word. They're not your competition.
Right.
So it's really easy.
It's more of a network as opposed to
looking them it's just like a big buddy system.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's awesome.
Cool. Within your separate businesses, are there aspects to each that you kind of like enjoy more in one more definitely. Than the other? Like I'm assuming there's more of a creative outlet in the furniture.
Yes. I love to be able to kind of do whatever I want, but then also it comes a point too. Sometimes I'll have commissions and I can't do whatever I want. I have to follow kind of what they want. Yep. So I'll definitely have to rein in myself there. The horse business, I mean, who really loves mucking poop? I mean, it's it's life.
Part of the job.
And I've done it for over 20 years, so it's fine. Yeah. But I mean, like, if I can hire someone one day that can kind of take care of the farmhand stuff, that's fantastic. And then I can still enjoy my horses in that kind of capacity. So there's that for that kind of, I feel like my weaknesses and my website stuff, I feel like it's just tedious. It's just a lot of time. Yep. And finding the time to actually like get into it.
Were you self-taught with that kind of stuff?
A lot of it was self-taught.
Yeah.
Connor was in school for marketing originally, which is my little brother.
Yep.
So he has taught me a huge amount of knowledge and information. So that's awesome.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Is it mostly like WordPress kind of side or
Canva? Yeah. I also use Adobe.
Yeah.
There's a few other websites, but
are you using like Illustrator for the graphic design stuff? Okay. Yeah. That's one of the ones I haven't got huge into yet because we don't need it as much stuff like one of the editors that he does.
It's hard.
Yeah.
You have to figure it all out.
Yeah. And with Photoshop for the first
I couldn't.
Probably 4 months that I was trying to use it. I hated that program. And then once you kind of learn how they all sort of like work together and the tools that kind of go across each platform, it's a lot easier. But
I feel like, I feel like that's the thing too, is just experience with it. Just figuring it all out and tinkering away. Yeah. And then I started doing it for friends, and then it kind of just progressed from there.
Right.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna jump gears a little bit again because I didn't know you were talking about like the sexual abuse stuff and that you went to therapy.
Yes,
so
times.
What I find super interesting is when you go back to like thinking about relationships in high school, like I would say we weren't really in like the same friend group. No. And my outside perspective was more that you were like a shy person in general. Yes. Yeah. And you were a lot more quiet. We would still have conversations, but it was never like super in depth. So
I feel like I was that way with a lot of people. Like I was so friendly and I loved everyone, but I definitely was reserved.
And was that a part of that?
Yes, I think so. When I look back to it, I didn't really necessarily enjoy high school. I graduated. I was able to graduate early. I found some loopholes there.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was just with my credits. I did the co-op at the family salon.
Yeah.
So and I got extra credits that way.
Perfect.
But I definitely think that kind of attributed to my personality. I didn't really know, I didn't know how to deal with my emotions. And when you're sexually abused, it's always, you're always in flight mode.
Yeah.
And after, it's great at the start, it benefits you at that start and it helps you survive. But after a certain point, it starts to hinder your life and it's not positively affecting the outcome of your day-to-day stuff. So once I did therapy in high school, it was okay. But once I did therapy about 5 years ago, the thing was I met a great therapist that I really got along with. And therapy isn't just about going to therapy. It's about actually doing the work in it. And it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of bringing up things you don't want to remember, but you need to. Yeah. It's not a good thing to avoid. So I feel like she really helped me kind of delve into my past and into my memories, my not so good memories. And I had a great childhood.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. And I was super lucky. I had amazing parents who right from the get-go, as soon as they found out the guy went to jail and, you know, I went to the police station. We did all that stuff. Yep. And then I did intense therapy. It's like play therapy at CHIO. And I did that for a long time. I was about 6. So I was really little. So it's not like they're sitting you down and be like, they're just kind of, you're sitting down, you're playing. So I did that for a while. And then they kind of said, it might come back out when, you know, they hit puberty, they go into high school, things like that. And it definitely did, I think. And, you know, maybe that influenced some of the relationships I had in high school. I didn't necessarily have the most safe like secure emotionally, I guess.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Yeah. So and then after that, and then I did the therapy, and then I found a great partner who understands all this and kind of lets me just go through it, you know, and that was super important. But therapy is huge. I'm a big advocate for therapy. Even if you don't have something wrong in your life. I've
heard that from a lot, actually, especially entrepreneurs, which is really funny. Even like podcasts I listen to and stuff.
People are like, therapy. No, but if you find someone that you actually get along with and you actually do the work and commit to it, it's amazing. Yeah,
I've heard it's like a really great thing for just bettering yourself, even if you don't have any like crazy quote unquote issues that you've gone through or anything. Like, I've heard amazing things about it.
Well, even for you, like you have a lot you're dealing with. You have a lot of things you have to think about. So sometimes it's nice to talk to someone that's has no influence on your life whatsoever. Just there to listen and absorb what you're saying and kind of give you that positive reinforcement that you need.
Yep. Yeah. Totally fair. Yeah. And so when do you think that shift kind of happened? Because like for you right now, I'd say you are a lot more like outgoing, talkative personality has
which is
changed
a lot like my dad.
Yeah. Okay.
And I really think, and I'm like a extrovert introvert. Like I have a lot of friends, I have a lot of connections, things like that. But then I like to go home and I like to shut my door and my blinds, you know, and just have my little oasis. So I feel like it's a happy medium, I guess. But I'm not afraid to be myself. So that's a big change. But yeah.
Do you think that part with your past has helped create any kind of like what's the word, I guess, like resilience in what you do? Like some people I know, it's like some people look at it as fully a negative thing and bad, and of course it's like a horrible thing, but being able to turn that into something positive is tough for some people to do.
So something actually, some wise thing, don't tell my brother I said that. My younger brother, he kind of said, I'd written something, cause I'm a huge advocate. So I'm free to like talk about it and, on my platforms, but he kind of said, I wrote sexual assault, victim. And he said, Tina, don't put that negative wrap around that. And he said sexual assault survivor.
Right.
So that was huge because I was like, you're right. Like that is such a good way to think about it, because it wasn't something that the person brings on themselves. It's something that they endured. It's something that they survived. Yeah. And it should never be looked at as like a negative, a shameful thing. And I feel like that's a lot of the stigma around it, is that it feels shameful. Yeah. And it's really hard for people to talk about it. And when you actually talk to people and really get into their lives, it's not amazing, but it's the amount of people that have had something like that happen in their life in one way or another, as a child, as an adult, is astounding. It's crazy. Yep. And you're like, what? No way. And it's true though. But so everyone has their own little things that they deal with, but it's sad that people have to kind of hide with it. So I'm hoping that, you know, my presence in some people's lives kind of impacts. So you're actively
still like involved in something that's kind of like helping other people.
Yeah, I love to help other people. I'm a big helper, and I may kind of wear myself a little thin sometimes, helping too much, but yeah, I love to help. And awesome. I just it's a good feeling.
In those few days and times off where you do have like, you know, a day to yourself to do something, or with your partner, what are you typically doing? What are some of those things you enjoy doing? Hobbies? So
I know your wife.
Yep.
And we both share the thrifting, antiquing, flea markets. So you understand that life. So I do drag Richard with me a lot of the time.
Okay.
So a lot of that. I love to garden.
Okay, man, you and my wife.
I know, we're very
similar. You guys gotta hang out more.
Yeah, I have a house full of tropical plants, and then I love my dogs. My dogs are my babies, so that's kind of, I just like to chill on my couch.
Yeah.
I love watching Dr. Phil.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Like, I don't know. Those are just some of my little quirks, but yeah, that's what my day off.
You have any other favorite shows or things you're into right now?
I'm into a lot of true crime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I love, and I love like jail shows. Like
jail.
When
like
they go behind the
straight
scene,
or whatever.
Yeah, or they put someone in the jail and they're like, oh, this is all of what's wrong in your jail. But I love that kind of stuff. I think that's partially just to do with my upbringing too.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it's an addiction.
Fair enough. So one thing I ask pretty much everybody on this show is, like, most of the people so far we've had are local to this area. So what kind of opportunities do you see Brockville and the Thousand Islands and all that kind of, I guess the whole region really, like what kind of opportunities do you see? Because most young entrepreneurs I still know are leaving to like big cities because that's where the quote unquote opportunity is.
I feel like it's changing a lot, and I really feel like there's a large population of businesses and people around here who need the expertise, and unfortunately a lot of the population in Brockville is a lot of like older generation, so they may be getting out of certain businesses, things like that, and there's maybe new spins to businesses people can kind of throw at Brockville or the surrounding areas. And I think people forget that there's a lot of business in this area, and it's a beautiful spot, and there's a lot of benefits to being around here versus the city. I mean, I love the city, but there's just something about this area. And I would have never said that as a high schooler. I would have said I'm going to Ottawa or I'm going to Toronto.
I think everybody kind of did. It's funny now you're seeing a lot of people slowly trickle back.
They're coming back. They're buying. Oh, you just bought a house here? Yeah, definitely.
Especially during COVID. Like I think a lot of people moved back and then realized, like especially in the summer months, and it was like the only thing you could do was go swim in the river, like boat and stuff. It was like
instead of a concrete paradise.
I definitely at one point wanted to, after university, like move away for an extended period of time.
It's just like a feeling you're like, I don't want to be here.
Because just like all things, when you go to like Banff and people are like, I've lived here my whole life, it's mountains, and you're like, oh, it's like mountains,
it's
like
beautiful.
How do you hate this? Or, I don't know, they don't hate it, but I really do think there are so many opportunities for you, like young entrepreneurs and people to work in business here, and even in
just
general.
New ideas too, like that we don't have. I just think there is a huge want for that, and a lot of us youngins, I guess, are coming back to the area, and we need that. So
are you a river rat? Like, do you love being out on the river? Or
when I was younger, yes. My partner and I want to buy a little tiny boat and go fishing or something, just something to be go relax on my day off, So,
awesome. That's cool. Well, I would say shout out any of the kind of channels you want to direct people to, what kind of social media things, or if you have like some kind of promotional thing you want to shout out, go for it.
So I guess mainly is my Tina's Homespun Treasures account on Instagram and Facebook. I kind of cover my day-to-day life, and I do my furniture refinishing, DIYs. I give ideas. I do a lot of content creation with reels, like how-tos, things like that for beginners. But then there I also direct to my my farm account, which is ChrisCon Farms, and then my Tina Webco. So
cool. And those are all like at Tina Webco.
Exactly.
Okay. We'll make sure to put those up then too.
Thank
cool.
You. Yeah.
Well, I don't really have anything else. Do you have any other kind of like questions, comments, or anything? No, this is great to
catch up and learn new things.
Cool. We might have to get a part 2 then at some point as well, as the businesses grow and all that kind of stuff.
For sure. I'd
awesome.
love to.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.